Texas A&M's roster does not currently match the results. It just doesn't. Now, you look at where the Aggies are as far as composite rankings, and 247 does the composite, and a bunch of other places do basically the team talent rankings. Well, in a lot of these rankings, they are a top 4 team as far as their personnel. But you look at just their philosophy. I mean, they don't get a lot out of that personnel. I mean, you look at Oregon and Washington, like how often they're going for it on 4th down, how aggressive they are. They're calling timeouts, trying to steal possessions, trying to steal points at the end of the half. There's been multiple times this year where the Aggies aren't really in a position to do that, don't want to do that. Like, hey, we'll just take the lead. We'll take timeouts to halftime. Like, they got to start, I think, being more aggressive. Just philosophically, the game has changed a little bit. And now, whether it's analytics driven or being aggressive, you have to be willing to adjust. And right now, Jimbo Fisher is not really wanting to adjust. Since he's arrived at Texas A&M, the Aggies are 0-8 on the road against top 25 teams. That's actually their 8th consecutive road loss against all opponents. And the last time the Aggies won a game on the road was October 16th of 2021 against a very, very average Missouri football team. Now, you look at the offense, they couldn't protect Max Johnson. That's been an issue the last couple weeks. They also had a couple interceptions. They had 11 penalties, and they averaged 4.5 yards a play. You look at what their defense is playing well enough for them to win. I mean, you hold Tennessee to 332 yards of offense and just 20 points, and 7 of which were on a kick return. You had short field a couple times. Defense able to force the field goal there at the end to at least give them a chance. Their defense did enough to win. But the offense, man, is continuing to hold them back, and partly because the offensive line is an issue. It's continuing to be an issue and has been for a really long time. Like, you have bad snaps. You had you look at Max Johnson. You thought, well, maybe after Connor Wigman got hurt in September, maybe Max Johnson isn't that much of a drop-off. Wigman was playing great football, and it's tough to put a backup quarterback in there. You lose your starting quarterback for the year, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I don't care who you are. It's going to be difficult. But the reason why they lost Wigman is because he took a million hits, whether it's against Miami, against Auburn. They took a bunch of hits because the offensive line isn't playing good. You got to protect your quarterback, or you're going to lose him for the year, which they did. They've also lost multiple quarterbacks last year, which led to Wigman ultimately starting the games at the end. But it's because they took too many hits, got hit way too many times. Now you have 11 penalties. That's a problem. And this was an offense that was supposed to take off with Bobby Petrino coming in, and they had 306 yards against Alabama and 277 against Tennessee. Now, when Jimbo Fisher got to A&M, they were all of a sudden one of the best recruiting spots in the country. Okay? Everyone wants to talk about the contract that he signed back in 17, 10 years, $75 million. Well, after the 9-1 season and a number 4 finish in the COVID year of 2020, gets a big contract extension, 10-year clock starts over again, $95 million now through 2031. Well, they now have a brand new indoor practice field. They've been well funded for name, image, and likeness. The roster looks like one of the best in the SEC, but they don't seem to have the ingredients necessary to be able to pull it off. So you look at where they're at right now. 43-24 is Jimbo Fisher's record. Kevin Sumlin, granted, Kevin Sumlin had Johnny Manziel, and people always like to put back and say, well, look at Kevin Sumlin's games record through 67 games. Well, if you had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, I would imagine that Jimbo Fisher's record would probably be a whole heck of a lot better. But since the start of 2020, or since the end of 2020, that was when he peaked, they're 17-14 overall and 8-12 in SEC play. I mean, it's starting to kind of become a little bit difficult to forecast when will A&M break through. Now, you also have to take into account this is not a program that has just had consistent sustainability at the top of college football for a really long time. They haven't won a conference championship anywhere since 1998. That was the 3rd year that they were in the Big 12. So while I think Jimbo Fisher's tenure has been frustrating with highs and lows, this has been a program that has not often had championships in the modern era. But man, it's just disappointing to see this team continuing to underachieve. And this past Saturday was a difficult one to stomach if you're an Aggie fan.
Yeah, what's the patience going to be like? I mean, from the administrations, from the fans, you made all the comparisons. You even said they haven't won much since 1998 on like that high level. Expectations, patience, how long does he have?
I can't answer that question. I really don't know. I talk to people in Aggie land, and some people say, yeah, we're fed up. Other people say we're patient, still young, had some growing pains, have had some tough circumstances. Well, man, it's getting to the point where it's put up or shut up. Like, it's time for them to take a step. And it's time for them to start playing up to their potential, because the talent is there. But the potential, being accused of having potential that's not reached, is not something you ever want for a program.